Welcome into Bengals Breakdown. I am Tom Downey here once again as we get Stone fully trained up at Chat Sports. First, the good news. Despite what one idiot on Twitter might have said, all things trending in the proper direction for Joe Burrow and the Bengals. He returned to offseason workouts on Monday, was throwing in front of media. The players we're trending towards our first best shape of life comment where he's never looked better, looks the exact same way he did previously. I wouldn't expect them to say anything else, as Burrow did rock a compression sleeve on his right arm, by the way. Does sound like all things a go with Joe Burrow. No, the surgery was not to make sure the bones grew. Whatever, terrible reporting involved there. But the big news is Joe Burrow is back. He is throwing, and all signs point towards the proper trend for him being good to go for the regular season, and hopefully actually out there for a preseason and a healthy training camp for once. Like this video if you are excited that Joe Burrow is back and throwing. I know I certainly am. If you agree with me, then like today's video right now. Let's talk free agency rumors out there around the Bengals. First up is this idea on signing Calais Campbell. Bleacher Report suggesting that idea, pitching the following. Cincinnati could find a valuable rotation piece in veteran Calais Campbell. While Campbell wouldn't be a long-term, 37 years old, he'll be 38, by the way, before week 1, he's still a productive player. He had 6.5 sacks and 24 pressures with the Falcons last season. If the Bengals can convince Campbell to play for them, they could add another potent pass rusher who can provide leadership and a little divisional familiarity. Campbell played for the rival Ravens from 2020 to 2023. Now, what's noteworthy to me is that Campbell actually played more edge, kind of outside that tackle frame in 2023 for Atlanta. Now, he's played a lot of defensive tackle in his time in the NFL as well. He can play anywhere from, at times, one technique to maybe not full-on wide 9, but out there as like a 4-3 base defensive end. What he does offer is good flexibility along the defensive line, which, depending on what your plan for Campbell is, you might need him at one spot more than others, which we'll get to here more in depth in a minute. But would you sign Calais Campbell? Y for yes, N for no. It is the pinned comment on today's video. So if that ad comes here on YouTube, great, take advantage of it. Head down there and vote. Y for yes, N for no. Now, I'm always open to adding help, although you got to figure out what that money ends up looking like for Campbell. I don't think he wants to play for the vet minimum. Probably got to give him a little bit more, but less than like the $8 million he made last year in Atlanta. And I do think Campbell can still help you. I think he helped the Falcons. He's helped the Ravens. He's helped the Jags, helped the Cardinals. Everywhere he's been, he is a good football player. Am I expecting another full 17-game campaign with 56 tackles, 6.5 sacks, 10 TFLs? No, I think that would be a little bit of an unlikely outcome. I think that would be probably asking for too much out of Campbell. But even if you get the 2020 version, which is 4 sacks, couple PBUs, 6 TFLs, I think there is value. Now, I view Campbell as more of a defensive tackle at this stage in his career, despite him playing a bunch of edge last season, which the Bengals don't need. They've got Sheldon Rankins, B.J. Hill, second-round pick Chris Jenkins, third-round pick McKinley Jackson. We'll see if Zachary Carter even makes this football team. Jay Tufele out there, defensive tackle. Things you don't need right now are DTs. What you might need is defensive end help. Now, I don't think Hendrickson ends up getting traded. Hubbard's coming off his own injury, but I think he'll be fine. Myles Murphy was your first-round pick last year. You got to give him reps. You got to put him out there and give him a chance to showcase what he can do, because you can't keep doing this whole, we draft for the future, and then you get to the future and go, we don't want to play him. That's not going to work well. You drafted Cedric Johnson, who I liked. Joseph Ossai is still there, Cam Sample. So adding good players is a good thing. I don't know how much you need Campbell. Frankly, I might look more at the veteran cornerback market, which we'll come back to later on in today's show. But the Amarius Mims rookie jerseys are available. That's chatsports.com/Amarius Mims. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show, so you can pre-order it right now. I know it says number 1. That is the placeholder number. It'll be his actual number once it arrives. Fanatics tends to Wait for sure, because sometimes those rookies change those numbers. Get yours today, chatsports.com/AmariusMims. Chad Johnson kind of sounding off to an extent on Tee Higgins. He told TMZ he thinks the Bengals are going to work things out. It'll all be fine. They'll get it done. Saying he's spoken to Tee Higgins, of course, who has, as I'm sure you should all know by now, has requested a trade. Not a day goes by that one of the major outlets don't float out well, what about a Tee Higgins trade idea? What if we gave Higgins for a third or a second, which the Bengals just simply aren't going to do? Back to Chad here. Here's what Ocho Cinco said. I think we're going to work it out. It's business. It's the nature of the business. He's going to be all right, though. I, frankly, would not read too much into this. I don't think that Chad is going to be the news breaker of like, deal's about to get done. I think the still far more likely path is one more run. And I kind of think that maybe Chad's got a little bit of hopium in that, I think they work it all out. I wouldn't treat this as breaking news, insider. Nah, it's just Chad, which is fun, by the way. So is this Tee Higgins' last year with the Bengals? 1 for one more run, 2 for, hey, you know what? Maybe he ends up getting franchise tagged or a deal does get worked out. Go vote in the comments. We know roughly what the market looks like. Devonta Smith is a number 1 caliber receiver who got paid $25 million, despite his team having another better wide receiver who is the highest paid wide receiver in football now. Boy, doesn't that sound just like what the Bengals could do with their receivers. Pay Higgins around $25 million, pay Chase, whatever the market looks like this year, next year, etc. But they've also drafted receivers. They've drafted Andre Yoshivas, Jermaine Burton in the 3rd round this year, Charlie Jones out of Purdue, who I like, who I don't think they loved as much the way he played in year 1. But they've got options at wide receiver. That's why I think the most likely path is franchise tag for a year and maybe revisit next year. But there's not been much communication between those two sides. Doesn't bode well for a deal getting done soon. Don't miss out on any of our Bengals coverage. We hired Stone to expand Bengals breakdown coverage. So hit that sub button. Help make that hire worth it. YouTube.com/BengalsTV. Adoree Jackson is the next veteran corner on today's conversation list. The final video, or part of today's video, I should say. A to Z Sports, just the Bengals try to sign him after the NFL draft, now having wrapped up. I don't mind it. They were linked to Christian Fulton and ended up going out west instead. Jackson has not been an elite ball skill playmaker. A couple INTs over the past 4 seasons. Has also missed time due to injury. 3 games played, 13, 10, 14. You would not assume that he's going to play all 17 games for you because there's no evidence to actually suggest that. But if you're in the market for a veteran corner, which I do think this Bengals team is, Jackson makes sense. Or if you want to pretend it's Xavier Howard or Patrick Peterson or Stephon Gilmore, that's fine too. They've got Cam Taylor-Britt. They drafted Josh Newton in the 5th round this year. DJ Ivey was a 7th round pick. Mike Hilton's locked into the slot. Daxton Hill's going to fight for a role, but does that just become like the Trey Flowers role this year, where he's just like your tight end eraser, which I wouldn't be mad at, but it's not great 1st-round pick value? And do you trust DJ Turner to be your number 2? I still wonder if he's more of a nickel, which is the exact same thing I wonder about Daxton Hill. And also what I wonder about Adoree Jackson, which is kind of like the Bengals' whole vibe. They tend to like those, is he outside, is he a nickel corner? They've done it several years in a row with Hill and Turner. Newton, though, at least is an outside guy. And Jackson has played plenty of outside as well. So would you sign Adoree Jackson? S for sign, P for pass, sound off in the comments. Like we mentioned, Bengals were linked to cornerbacks pre-draft. There was a clear, at least somewhat real interest there. Not top-end money, but they were in the market. They spent a day 3 pick on Josh Newton. If he's your cornerback 6, that's probably a good thing. Probably means your cornerback room is in really good shape for a year. You did move Daxton Hill to corner. Curious where he plays inside or out. So if the cost, if Jackson wants to play on the cheap, and the role, if he's down to maybe not win a starting battle, if both those things work out, yeah, I'm totally down going down that path. Maybe what you do is you wait on corner throughout training camp. Because maybe Howard and Jackson and Peterson Gilmore, etc., aren't signed yet. And if the young guys don't flash early in camp, maybe that's when you go get a vet.